You ever felt that sting of being excluded, that really sharp, kind of hollow feeling when you realize you're on the outside looking in? Yeah, it's a feeling we've all had. And today, we're going to dive into the fascinating and honestly mind-blowing science of why being left out hurts so much. You know the scene. You're in a group, but the conversation just seems to flow right around you, like you're a rock in a stream. You're physically there, but you might as well be invisible.
Or how about this one? You post something you're really proud of online, you put it out there, and then nothing. Just digital crickets. That silence can be deafening, can it?
And it can be something even smaller. Like you're just walking down the street, you make eye contact with someone, and they just look away. It's a split-second moment with a total stranger, but wow, it can still land a punch.
So if any of that felt familiar, I really want you to hear this. That feeling is 100% real. It is not you being too sensitive or overreacting. There's powerful, hard science that explains exactly why that hurt feels so deep.
So, let's start by getting on the same page. What are we actually talking about when we say social exclusion? And what does it look like in the wild, in our day-to-day lives?
Okay, so at its core, social exclusion is just that, the experience of being kept apart from other people. And this can be totally literal, right? Like not getting the invitation to the party. Or it can be emotional, which is that lonely feeling you can have even when you're in a room full of people.
Now, exclusion tends to show up in two main flavors. First, you've got rejection. This is the active, direct stuff. It's someone explicitly saying, "You're not welcome here." There's no mistaking the message. But then there's ostracism, and this one is passive. It's being ignored, getting the silent treatment. It's the feeling of being treated like a ghost. And let me tell you, both are incredibly powerful.
And this stuff happens all the time, in ways we might not even consciously register. That stranger looking away. Being in a group where everyone starts speaking a language you don't understand. Those little subtle comments we call microaggressions. They're all small forms of exclusion, and our brain logs every single one of them as a potential threat.
All right, now this is where things get really interesting. Why does getting the cold shoulder from a friend feel, well, physically painful? The answer, it turns out, is deep inside your brain.
The filmmaker Derek Jarman just nailed it with this quote. There's a kind of pain that comes from being ostracized that feels different. It's stickier, and sometimes it feels even more real than a physical injury.
And here is the absolute punchline from decades of neuroscience research. This isn't just a nice metaphor. For your brain, the pain of a broken heart and the pain of a broken arm, they run on a lot of the same neural hardware.
So how do we know this? Well, scientists put people in fMRI scanners and had them play a simple computer game called Cyberball. You're just tossing a virtual ball with two other players. But then, the other player suddenly stopped throwing the ball to you. And what researchers saw in the brain scans was incredible. A region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, or DACC for short, lit up like a Christmas tree. And guess what? That's the exact same spot that fires up when you burn your hand on a stove. It's our brain's alarm system, and it screams danger, whether the threat is a broken bone or a broken friendship.
Okay, so the alarm bell's ringing in our brains. Now what? We've all felt that initial sting, but what we do next can look wildly different from person to person and even from situation to situation.
Generally speaking, our reactions fall into one of three big categories. Sometimes we go into reconnection mode. We try to be extra nice, more social to win people back over. Other times we get angry. We might lash out or become aggressive. And then there are the times we just pull back. We withdraw from everyone and everything. So what makes us choose one path over the others?
Well, that brings us to the why. A framework called the multi-motive model suggests it all boils down to how we interpret what just happened. If the relationship is really valuable to you, you're much more likely to try and repair it. But if you feel the exclusion was totally unfair and unjust, that's more likely to trigger anger and an antisocial reaction. And if it just feels like this is never going to change, like it's a hopeless situation, that's when we're most likely to give up and just withdraw.
Okay, so we get it. We understand the pain, we understand our reactions. But the good news is, we are not just victims here. This last section is all about the tools, the actual strategies we can use to build up our resilience and handle that social pain when it hits.
We can think about building resilience in two different ways. There are buffering strategies. These are the things you build up before anything bad happens. Think of it like a rainy day fund for your emotions. Then there are coping strategies. This is what you do in the heat of the moment after you felt that sting to manage your feelings and feel better.
And when it comes to coping, two big ones stand out. You can suppress your feelings, just stuff them down and pretend you're fine, or you can reappraise, which is a fancy word for actively reframing the situation. And the science on this is so clear, it's not even a contest. Reappraisal wins, hands down. Just thinking, you know what, maybe they're just having a terrible day and it has nothing to do with me, is a way more powerful tool than just trying to ignore the hurt. Suppression often just backfires later. And check this out. This is a fantastic little trick our brains have up their sleeves. When we can't get real human connection, we are experts at finding social surrogates. You know that warm, comforting feeling you get when you rewatch your favorite TV show? Your brain is literally treating those characters like friends. Or that pint of Ben & Jerry's after a bad day? The unconditional love from your dog? These are not just silly distractions. They are brilliant subconscious strategies our brains use to get that dose of connection we are so fundamentally wired to need.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that social exclusion isn't a flaw. It's a feature of being human. It hurts for a very real evolutionary reason. Our brains evolved to treat it like a life-or-death threat. But by understanding that mechanism, by knowing why it hurts, we suddenly get the power to step back, to manage it, and to build a real sense of resilience against it.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Now that we know the deep biological impact of exclusion on a single person, what does that mean for how we build our communities? How can we take this knowledge and use it to be more intentional about creating schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods where everyone truly feels like they belong?